with my co-host Jenny Hutt to discuss just that. Mark Eiglarsh, Robbie Ludwig, and Lauren Lake are standing by while I speak to Dan Gibb. He is himself juror number 8. He is with us now exclusively. Dan, so that is my first question to you. You were there diligently writing notes. You were invested in this thing, and all of a sudden it's out of your life. How do you do that? Is that what made you come back to the courtroom?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I felt like I had to, kind of see it through.
Yeah,
as much as I could.
I can imagine. I understand you were just diligently involved with this, and people just would love to hear your thoughts. Let me just start with some basic questions, like, did Jodi spend too much time on the stand? Did you buy her testimony?
Yes and no.
Tell me more.
She spent too much time on the stand, and I understand it. Probably the defense's strategy was for us to, get to know Jodi personally, and it would be that much more difficult to find her guilty and potentially put her to death. But they did that early, obviously, in the trial, and I think it lost some of its effect over time as we heard other testimony from other witnesses. So I do think she spent too much time up on the stand, and I personally, I tried my best to keep an open mind as long as I could, and I feel that I did that. But
did you, like many of us, have real difficulty believing anything she said?
Some of the things were believable, but not many. As time went on, it became apparent that more and more of what she was saying was just too far out there, was just too unbelievable.
How about the witnesses? Were there any witnesses? Say, what was your least favorite witness that the defense put on?
Well, I wasn't really impressed with Dr. Samuels. I know the gentleman's got a lot of years of experience and all that, but it was just, he was kind of all over the place. He made too many errors. He
spent an awful lot of time on the fog and the PTSD, didn't he?
Yeah, the PTSD thing, I think it seemed like it was, I don't know, it seemed like it was just to sidetrack us.
Yeah.
From the real issue.
Dan, I'm going to give Mark Eiglarsh a chance to ask you a question, because Mark has been very interested in the fog since this whole thing started. Mark, why don't you ask Dan a question?
Well, I have so many questions, but I'll have to pick one for now. I know that your position, I'm sure, is I didn't watch any media reports, and for me to believe that, I need to know how it is, because this thing was everywhere. I mean, if you went into the doctor's office, it would have been on the TV. If you went into a restaurant, it might have been on the TV. And you went to work on Friday, I read. How, when people are watching media reports, did they not say things to you? How were you not influenced?
Well, I mean, people would approach me, for instance, a couple of occasions at work, and I would just tell them, hey, I'm not allowed to talk about it. I can't talk about it. If something did come on TV, I would turn the channel, walk out of the room. It was difficult because it is all over the place, obviously. It's hard to pick up a newspaper and not see it at, somewhere on the front page.
I got to tell you, Dan, Lauren, I want you to respond to what I'm about to say. I'm proud that we have a system where somebody like Dan can represent. He's really his integrity, and he takes it very seriously. Maybe I've lost faith in jury systems, but I've suddenly today getting a renewed pride and interest in our system.
Oh.
No. Yeah, it is amazing how, seriously, people take this duty. And, I'm impressed already listening to Dan. And I've been dying to ask this question because there were so many parts of the trial, Dan, where we felt like it started to become a battle of the egos between prosecution and defense, and not necessarily a battle to uncover the evidence. And I wanted to know, was there any time as a juror where you kind of felt like, hey, can you all stop going at it and give us the facts we need so we can make a decision? Or did you just feel like they were both passionate about the cases they needed to present?
Well, yeah, there was a lot of the testimony that was just way too long and drawn out, and it was like, please just get to the point. That's all I want, is for you to get to the point.
Yeah, and Dan, actually, I think you're someone that put some of the more snarky questions into the juror question box. we had, and I loved them. I must tell you, they were very telling from our standpoint as viewers about what you guys are all thinking. I want everyone to look at a question that juror number 8 had for defense witness Dr. Richard Samuels. Take a look.
You said transient global amnesia can be caused by sexual intercourse, immersion in hot or cold water, and a number of other things. Is the list you presented all-inclusive, or could it also be caused by something such as the trauma associated with getting a bad haircut, for example?
God bless you, Dan. Again, I'm proud of you.
Well,
we all were thinking the same thing. Just you represented the entire country in that question.
I actually had to really think about whether or not I wanted to put that question in the basket, and honestly, after I dropped it in there, I wasn't sure that I should have, and then I thought, well, it's not likely that they're going to read it. Okay, that the judge is going to read it, but then she did, and
Dan,
and I wanted to make a point.
Dan, let me ask you.
Dan, Mark, I got a break. I'm sorry, Dan. Finish your comment, then I got to take a break. Go ahead.
I just wanted to make a point
Yeah.
that a lot of the things that he was saying, I didn't believe were credible.
Yeah, and you listen. Like I said, Dan, in a nice, glib, humorous little twist, you presented an opinion that I think put everyone on notice and reflected what we were all thinking. I think it was well done. Hats off to you for many reasons. But stay with us. We've got more with Dan Gibb, juror number 8. This exclusive interview. Please don't go away. He'll be right back.
You need to come out and tell me why this happened. I will not accept any other excuses. Who did this?
I don't know, but if I go to trial for this, and if I'm convicted for this, whoever did this is going to be sitting very pretty somewhere. Glad that it wasn't them.
And it's my job to make sure that an innocent person does not go to jail. But I don't see an innocent person sitting in front of me.
I am back with my panel and co-host Jenny Hutt and our very special guest, Dan Gibb. He was juror number 8 in the Jodi Arias murder trial. Dan, so I'm wondering what it's like now to be off the jury and to see in the media a lot of information that the jurors didn't get to see, such as the interrogation tapes of Jodi and of her family. What's that like now?
It's very interesting. I don't really, of course, know why that information was withheld. I can't really say whether it would have factored into the decision or not. It obviously couldn't get any worse at this point than it is.
Right, right.
But maybe it was just too prejudicial or something like that.
Seeing that tape and again reflecting on this overall case, do you think she has mental illness? Do you think that's a big part of her story?
Maybe to some degree. I don't know, because I didn't. Now that I see some of that stuff, it makes me kind of wonder. Like the handstand and all that kind of stuff.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah, but then on the other hand, what I was thinking when, for instance, when Dr. Samuels was testifying and he had the DSM-4 up there at the stand with him, and I was thinking, that's a pretty good sized manual. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like it would be kind of hard to find somebody that didn't have some disorder in that manual.
Well, that's actually a reasonable way to think about it, particularly when people are being paid to come up and advocate on behalf of somebody else. Jenny, you've got a question for Dan.
I do. Dan, thank you also for being here. My gosh.
Sure.
You said earlier in the last segment that you did believe some of what Jodi said. So can you recall specifically what you believe that she said?
Well, boy, it's hard to recall. There's just so much there. It's just some of the things that she said were not just so outrageous that that you could see where they be believable. Nothing with regards to the actual murder. I didn't believe, anything that she said with regards to that.
Did you wonder, as many of us did, why she had that tape? Why that tape even existed, and what she had intended to do with that? Was that a question you came up for you?
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, Mark, you have a question?
Let me ask him.
Please go.
Yeah, Dan. Clearly, the defense strategy from opening statement was to trash the victim.
Right.
I'm wondering if you bought any of the things that the defense, specifically that Jodi alleged about him, and I want to know specifically your feelings about her claiming that he was a pedophile.
Yes, awful
Yeah.
stuff.
What did you think when you heard that?
What do you think? Dan?
Yeah, I feel, I feel real bad for Travis's family that, the defense just, dragged him through the mud like they did. And as far as the pedophilia, I don't believe that whatsoever.
Right. I think. You see, Dan is on the same page as pretty much all of us, which is what I love. Robbie, I'm going to give you a chance to ask Dan a question.
Yes, Dan, I'm wondering if Jodi, during the trial, tried to engage or manipulate anybody on the jury, and if so, do you think she was successful?
Not that I saw. I think, she may have looked at some of the other jurors more than she did me, just because line of sight, wasn't as good with me. She had probably a better view for some of the jurors, but and I'd look over there frequently, but I tried to stay more focused on the witnesses and what they were saying, and not Jodi. It kind of upset me a bit whenever I'd see her sitting over there doing whatever she was doing, taking notes or doodling or drawing pictures, or I don't know what she was doing, but or figuring out what her next move was going to be. I don't know, but it was a bit irritating to me.
So again, as so many of us, seeing no contrition, no remorse, none of the usual emotions we would expect to see in somebody like that. I hate to put you in a position of speculating. I understand that you were very close. Your jurors, even though you didn't discuss the case, you felt very supportive and close together. Do you think they're going to impose the death penalty?
Gosh, that's...
Oh, that's not for you to answer. I beg your pardon. I can understand why you wouldn't want to answer that. But I also understand you do have a message for Travis's family, and just know that all of us here have just sort of a deep. I don't have words to describe it. We feel for what's going on with them, and watching them cry today was really, some of them particularly, you can feel their emotions so vividly. What is your message for them?
I just can't even. I can't even begin to imagine what they've gone through, and this isn't by any means going to be the end of this. I know they've got a wrongful death suit that's probably going to go on for some great length of time, and there's going to be an appeal here, and so this is going to continue for them, and I feel real bad for them, and I feel like I kind of let them down.
Well, sorry, Dan. I don't see how. I beg your pardon, but to me, you seem like the epitome of what they would want on the jury, and the outcome was it turned out okay. Maybe, I understand if it had gone the other way, you would feel that way.
Well, that's the thing is, the outcome, could have gone the other way, and it didn't, and that's good. But so I'm glad for them, certainly. But I mean, there were 375 on the panel, on the jury, selection panel. And over the course of 2 weeks last December, they took it down to the 18 of us. So, I felt like, I did something worthy of being on that jury. So,
Dan, maybe you're triggering my codependency, but I have to stop you and say, my friend, you did a great service.
You did a great job.
You did it very seriously. Speaking to you has been a pleasure. You've restored my faith a little bit in the jury system. Please, I guarantee you, I predict that if that family is who I believe them to be, they will reach out to you and say the same thing. But let's see how it goes. So please, hold your head up high, okay?
Okay, will do.
All right, Dan. Thanks so much.
Thank you.